first of all, it's a mindset shift. You have to understand that though you have a position of authority, your authority is not the reason why people are going to go along. People have free will. They can always choose to leave your company no matter how bad the economy is. They can choose to start something on their own. They could choose to go someplace else. They could choose to ignore what it is you're saying and still collect a paycheck. People have free will. But if you want them to follow something you ask for, if you want them to give their time and energy and do things the way you want, you have to influence them.
Are you a scaling SaaS founder? Ready to make the leap from leading a team to leading an organization? Join us each week as we refill your think tank with actionable tips and strategies from great business minds you know and those you don't know yet. This is SaaS Fuel with your host, 5-time entrepreneur, SaaS founder, and globetrotting adventurer, Jeff Maines.
Welcome back to the SaaS Fuel podcast, where building a business is a lot like making a great movie. You start with a compelling story, cast the right team, and make sure the ending leaves people wanting a sequel. I'm your host, Jeff Maines. I help B2B SaaS founders like you grow from traction to scale. Here, growth is more than just numbers. It's about crafting a future-proof company, premium valuation, and leaders who build a business of significance while living epic, adventurous lives. How do you lead when your title alone isn't enough to make people follow? And maybe if you have a big title like CEO or founder, then you think that's enough. But I think there's a lot more to leadership than that. In a startup, being the founder doesn't automatically mean your team will buy into your vision. Doesn't mean they'll stay engaged. It doesn't mean they'll execute with passion. True leadership isn't just about authority. It's about influence. It's about creating an environment where your team is empowered to take ownership, to make their own decisions, and drive success with you, not just for you. In this episode, we're unpacking one of my favorite topics, and that is leadership. We'll be talking about the essential leadership skills that every founder needs to build a strong, motivated, aligned team. You learn about the LEAD framework, LEAD. It's a simple but powerful approach to guiding your company with vision, empowerment, and decisive action. We'll also explore how the I do, we do, you do delegation method can stop you from becoming the bottleneck and help your team step up with confidence and gives confidence to you as well. But leadership isn't just about strategy, it's also about mindset. We'll dive into the delicate balance between hubris and humility. It's a really thin line, especially for founders, and why great leaders are great listeners. And adaptability is becoming the most underrated superpower in a fast moving AI driven world. If you want to lead a team that believes in your vision, operates with autonomy, and scales your business, this episode is packed with insights you won't want to miss. Let's dive in. Our founder on Tuesday was Daniel Borba, founder and CEO of Spark Portal. He revealed how SaaS and B2B companies can leverage video as a service to scale content production, maximize engagement, and use video as a true revenue driver, not just a part of the marketing plan. Our expert guest last week was Mohan Rao, Chief Product and Technology Officer at KnownWell. He shared insights on aligning product innovation with business growth. Mohan discussed how leaders can create scalable tech solutions that deliver real customer value while driving market expansion. If you missed either of those episodes, go back and give them a listen. Good stuff. My guest today is Tami Reiss, leadership expert and creator of the Learn to Lead framework. Tami helps executives develop the skills they need to drive growth, scale teams, and create a lasting impact. With experience working at global brands like Microsoft, Walmart, and Insight Partners, Tami brings a diverse and practical approach to leadership development. She's also the author of What Do Product Managers Do?, a kid's book designed to help both aspiring product leaders and parents who still don't believe product management is a real job. Welcome, one of my favorite leadership experts that I've talked to, Tami Reiss. Hey, Tami, welcome to SaaS Fuel.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Today is all about leadership and sales, one of my favorite topics. So tell me a little
Sales
bit about
leaders, leader sales leaders of sales.
That's
Everyone's a
right.
leader. Every leader sells something.
How did you get into sales? What's the story? How did you end up in where you are today?
So I sell my own services, but I would never say I'm a professional at sales, aside from the fact that I was on a sales team at some point, and I'm not sure how I got there. In reality, I know exactly how I got there. I'm a product leader, and I was the general manager for a self service PLG initiative within JustWorks. And at some point, they weren't really sure where that belonged. And they moved me to the sales team. And I all of a sudden reported into the CRO. It was very fascinating to me. But I believe that leaders are always pitching, we're always selling because we have to influence people to do what we want. And that is sales.
Yep. Leadership goes right along with sales. And one of the things that you said last time we talked was people with leadership skills will survive. Why is leadership now more critical than ever in today's environment?
I think a lot of people right now are afraid of how AI is going to steal their job.
Yeah.
And AI is very smart. It can make decisions, it can analyze data, it can condense large amounts of information, it can bring in information from places you didn't even know exist. But it cannot work with other people. It cannot convince other people to follow and invest their time in an idea, in a future, in an initiative, in anything. It cannot convince people to work together. It's not collaborative in that way. And that is where leaders will thrive. And that is why leadership skills are so key to future proofing yourself as an individual in the workforce.
That's absolutely right. You developed the Learn to Lead framework. It's very cool. Lead, LEAD. And it helps executives level up their leadership. And when you break that down for us, and how do founders apply the lead framework?
So I'll go into the details of the lead framework, but I want to be clear first that leadership skills are something that we are all constantly improving on. Yes, it is crucial for you to train your people to be leaders so that they can help everyone work together and align towards a common mission and vision. But it's also important for you to constantly be thinking about how can I be a stronger leader? How can I improve my own influence skills? How can I dissect what it is that makes me a strong leader so that I can teach the leaders that report into me to be equally strong for their areas of expertise. So there's many layers to learning leadership skills, and we should all always be improving them. So now onto the lead framework. L is for look towards the future. That is centered on making sure that whenever you're leading, you are directing people towards something, generally a better future, a vision of a better future where people's lives are better. I dive deep into that, but that's not the time for it right now. E is for empower your team. No one can do anything all by themselves. And if your team is constantly running back to you to get answers to simple questions, you're not going to be able to do the strategic work that you need to do as a leader. Therefore,
Right.
you have to empower your team through structures, through support, through training, through discussions, so that they can make decisions on their own level to move everything forward. Now we're on to A. A is one of my favorites because I believe a lot of people have no idea that this is something they naturally do and it's part of how they became a leader and rose to the top. And also, it's incredibly easy to learn. A is for activating your supporters. That means
That's
you
good.
understand that if you're the only one trying to convince a group of people about something, it's not going to go as far as what would happen if you had multiple people who are already in agreement, who are already aligned with your idea and your vision, also advocating for it. And you, as a leader, have to turn them on. You have to activate them. You have to give them words to say. You have to feed them ideas about why whatever it is you're pitching is valuable. And salespeople know this because they map out the decision makers and they map out who's going to influence who. Rarely, especially in a big B2B deal, is only one salesperson talking to only one prospective person on a client.
Yeah.
Therefore, it's about how do you activate different sources of influence that will get you what you want. And then D. D is decide sensibly and swiftly. I am sure that none of your leaders like an indecisive leader.
Right.
All right. I am sure that none of your listeners like an indecisive leader. And they're probably not big fans of someone who's dictatorial either. Someone who is
Yeah.
willy nilly with their decisions and doesn't take the time to explain to their teams why certain choices have been made, what trade offs were evaluated. And if you are a leader that goes through this thoughtful explanation with your team, not only does that improve trust and confidence in you that you made a sound decision, but also it empowers them to make similarly aligned decisions when you're not there because they can replay your thought process, how you evaluated what was important, how you evaluated what was valuable, how you evaluated what could be ignored, and they can do the same. And so that is the lead framework. Lead.
So good. Oh, there's so much great stuff in that. And just thinking about even empowering your team, I think that's one of the things that is really tough for a lot of leaders is they become a bottleneck. And I've been there where you wake up and you go, why is everything running so slow? And it's, oh yeah, because it's all running through me. And I'm the bottleneck in the business. And a lot of founders I work with, same kind of thing. You're the bottleneck in the business. And I'm like, oh, I should probably fix
How
that.
did that happen, right? This
How
is
did we get here?
This is actually the exact problem that made me switch my focus from coaching executives to training leaders. And what I
Mm,
kept have happening was I would be talking to a CPO, I would be talking to a VP of product, I would be talking to a CTO, and I would say, you need to delegate, you need to deputize, you can't be doing all of these things
right.
on your own. And they would say, I don't have anybody on my team who I can deputize. I don't have anyone on my team who's ready to take on this burden. And what they were saying wasn't they don't have the basic skills. What they're really saying is they don't know how to navigate the internal politics. They don't know how to motivate teams to go along with them. They don't know how to work cross functionally and build collaborative experiences that allow for everyone to work together towards a common goal. And that is teaching people how to be leaders. And so that is why I created the Learn to Lead program so that we can
Yeah.
develop these leadership skills in the middle layer. They can then be better leaders for everyone who reports into them so their teams are more effective, more efficient, more impactful because they're aligned. And then the strategic people, the executives, people whose title starts with a V or a C, can actually focus on the strategic things they are supposed to work on.
You emphasize the importance of influence without authority. How do founders master that skill?
First of all, it's a mindset shift. You have to understand that though you have a position of authority, your authority is not the reason why people are going to go along. People
Mm,
have free will. They can always choose to leave your company no matter how bad the economy is. They can choose to start something on their own. They could choose to go someplace else. They could choose to ignore what it is you're saying and still collect a paycheck. People have free will. But if you want them to follow something you ask for, if you want them to give their time and energy and do things the way you want, you have to influence them. And once you understand that you're going to be influencing and not simply being authoritative and give instructions, you can then understand, okay, how do I sell this person on this? How do I pitch this person that this is in their best interest to do it the way I'm suggesting? We often do that through creating a vision. We then do that by empowering them, giving them agency, giving them the opportunity to own part of the idea. Then we activate supporters. That may be their coworkers, that may be their immediate boss, that may be a groundswell, that may be anything. But activating supporters means though I might be the founder and CEO, I am not the only person whose opinion matters. If I get the
yeah.
other people who are already aligned and in agreement to talk to this individual, that will help with influence. And that is the mindset shift and then the actual activities a CEO needs to do to continuously be improving their influence on their team and getting everyone on the same page.
That really is. It's a big mindset shift. And I think it goes back to being the bottleneck. I think a lot of founders struggle with they have to be the hands-on problem solver. And I
Founder
think that's
mode,
one of the
founder mode.
yes. Oh, absolutely. And that happens all the time. You get stuck in that. And I think just what you said a minute ago about I don't have anybody on my team that I can delegate that to. I don't know that's true most of the time. There's probably somebody that can get it 80 or 90% of the way there. And it may not be your way all the time, maybe better.
Yeah, it may be
But they look at themselves of I have to be the hands-on problem
it's a
solver, to
control
be
thing.
an effective leader. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a control
How do
thing.
we shift away from that?
First of all, you have to understand that you can't do everything. So start by saying, I cannot do everything. And then recognize that you have very specific things that only you can do. And once you've figured out those things that only you can do, that your special sauce is, that you as CEO, that you as founder can do, put those aside and say, all right, I'm going to put all of my energy towards this. And if something comes up that I might be doing or might be asked to do, that I'm not the only person who can do it, then evaluate who else can do it and are they available and how can they do it. Are they going to get it 70% of the way there, so I need to be involved in the editing round? Are they going to get it 95% of the way there, so I just need to be rubber stamping? Figuring out who you have on your team that can do most of the work and when to step in and collaborate. But you have to start by recognizing there are certain things that only you can do. And if you're doing everything, those things are not getting done. Or they're not getting done with intention or with flow or with the right level of expertise because your brain is somewhere else. And that isn't good
Yeah.
for anybody.
That's true. Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I think probably a harder transition for founders because in the beginning, it probably was just you
Yeah.
and you had to do everything. And then, but as you grow, it's shifting out of that and saying, I can't do everything is hard because you have been doing everything and
It
it might not be great. Hey, there's a lot of things I can do, but it doesn't mean I should be.
doesn't mean it should be. And
Yeah.
it's also emotional. People have to give
Yes.
space for the emotionality of being a founder, of being a business owner. This is your baby. You are investing your time. You are stepping away from the things that are most important to you, your family, your friends, in order to invest more time in making this company something more than it is today. And therefore, giving someone else the reins is really scary. And
It is.
so, like I say to my daughter, it's okay to be scared. But what we do is we admit that we're scared, we give it a name, and we then figure out what will enable us to be brave. What sort of support do we need from
Mm,
our family, our friends, our coworkers, our co founders that will enable us to be a little bit more calm, a little bit more brave, and more trustworthy that it's all going to be okay, even if I'm not there controlling all the little details.
oh, that's very savvy thinking that way. Uh,
People don't give enough space to their emotions.
yeah,
That we believe we're some sort of incredibly rational beings when we're not. I
not
love
at all.
Predictably Irrational as a book because it just
That's
goes
such a great book.
through
Yeah,
it's such a great book. All of these examples about how we make choices that are not in our best interest, that are not incredibly impactful or beneficial. And it's a sales book, so it teaches you how to utilize that for predictable revenue and
right.
how to get people to be irrational and buy your thing. But it also helps you build empathy for the other side and
It
awareness
does.
for the other side that they're not always going to make a choice based on facts or figures. That influence comes from social dynamics, and influence comes from motivation, and influence comes from structural things and other aspects of your business and what you're presenting to someone that gets them on board or has them checked out. And so you need to understand that a lot of it is actually emotional. What's going to make someone feel prideful? What's going to make someone feel excited about the work they're doing with you and the impact it has?
Oh, that's really good. I remember getting to that point of really trying to focus and making a concerted effort to only do the things that only I can do.
It's
And
so
emotionally,
hard.
it was difficult because I don't want to just throw this over there and I've been doing this and I'm going to give it to you and now I'm not going to be involved in it anymore.
So don't
And
throw it.
which was helpful in a lot of ways. But at the same time, I felt bad. Am I not doing anything anymore? I'm not as valuable? No, it's just the role had changed.
The role had changed.
And the things that I was doing now needed to be done by somebody else. I need to be focusing on things that are more important.
Bigger thing.
And they giving it over to people who love doing that, where it was something that I could do, but I wasn't great at it. I didn't love it, but it needed to be done. And so it just very difficult in grappling with those two things.
Something you mentioned that I think is part of the problem is leaders very often feel like they're throwing something over. And in fact, that isn't going to build your own trust and confidence that your baby's okay. And so,
Yeah.
whenever a leader is training someone else to do something, I like to encourage them to utilize a program called I do, we do, you do. So, there's 3
Yes.
rounds. And so, I do, you watch, we do it together, you do, I watch. It's 3 rounds of working together and the opportunity to ask questions about why certain things are done, allowing them to possibly suggest alternative, better ways to
Yeah.
do certain things that you might not have been aware of. But if you go through 3 rounds with someone, you'll have so much more confidence that they're going to at least do it 80% right and over time do it 100% right. And that puts you at ease. So it's worth the
It
time
does.
investment to begin with to ensure that they're going to do it the way you want and that they understand your decisions and how thoughtful they are so that they can then do them themselves. That is empowerment. It's not an assignment, it's an empowerment. You're saying, I used to have this power and I'm giving it to you. I trust you with this responsibility because you have earned my trust. I am confident in your ability to execute on this task or this initiative or this project. Thank you so much for doing it.
Oh, that's good. And I love that transition as well because things aren't lost, but especially that middle step of we're doing it together and they're asking questions like, why we do it that way? What's this? How come it works that way?
Let's
And
become
that's
more
really
independent.
healthy.
Yeah, you're becoming more independent, right? I'm
Yes.
saying I'm not going to give you a task and expect you to backwards engineer it. Like I'm not expecting you to understand all the different things that came into this being the way it is. What I'm going to do is show it to you where all you're doing is watching. So you're fully like a sponge, just gathering the information. You
Yeah.
can ask me questions because you're not trying to do anything other than understand. Then we're going to do it together, which means you're going to do parts of it. I'm going to do parts of it. We're going to figure out where you feel more confident in doing things. I'm going to share with you why I do things a certain way. You can ask me more questions as we're going back and forth. It's a collaboration because we're producing something together. And then
Right.
rather than setting someone out there, you say, I got your back. I'm your safety net. You're going to do
Yeah.
this, but I'm going to be here to back you up. I'm going to be here because in those first 2 rounds, we might not have covered everything. You might not
Right.
remember why a certain thing is done. I'm going to be there to support you so that you now feel trust and confidence in yourself because I'm showing you I'm backing up. And that is a big statement of why you're deserving of doing this task.
It is.
Fun.
Now I like them asking those questions because a lot of times they do make the process better. You find things that you've been doing a certain way for a long time and like, I didn't know any other way because it's not my area of expertise. And a lot of times it is theirs.
Yeah.
And so they're able to get steps. And it's really about delegating outcomes. Here's what we want in the end and figuring out what the best way to get there. My way is probably not the best way.
Yeah.
Even though in my mind, when I'm delegating it, I think it is because I don't know any better. But it's really that outcome. Here's where we want to get to, and here's how we've gotten here so far, and getting their input. And then they have some ownership into that as well.
I love that you started talking about outcomes because there's a whole movement towards outcomes over outputs. But the bottom line is we all want to be successful, and
Right.
successful isn't just about the actions. They have to actually have impact, they have to have value. And so I've started to say recently that success isn't getting what you want, it's getting where you want to go. That there's a destination in mind, there's an outcome, there's a
Yeah.
change in the reality that you're trying to generate. And that's when it's going to be successful. And you need to explain what success looks like in not a consulting term, but actually describe. this future state of the world, which is better for your customers and your business because changes have happened. And because you're talking about something in the future, you're not being prescriptive. You're not saying, this is exactly how we're going to get there. Everyone follow my 14-step plan. You're saying, I want to get there. I entrust you as these smart, wonderful people, dedicated people who have come on board to make that a reality, to find the best path there. And an understanding that new things come up every day, efficiencies develop, and that it's possible what we originally thought was a good idea is no longer a good idea. The market has
Yeah.
shifted, our clients have shifted, the finances have shifted. There are so many bumps in the road, but if we have the desired outcome, we're not worried about whether or not one step got messed up. We can come back onto that direction. We can come back onto the path to success because we know where we're trying to go. And that is so key to leadership, to constantly be centering people, not on the actions, but on the outcomes and the output and the destination and where success lies.
Yeah. Founders and leaders have to do that all the time. They're pitching that vision to investors, but employees, partners, customers. What is the secret to really becoming a more persuasive leader and bringing them along on that ride with you, that them catching that same vision?
So much of it is good storytelling. So much of it is learning to tell the story of the anguish and the pain and the frustration that exists in the current world. And then talking about a utopian future where things get better. And that you are the hero of that story. Your product is the hero of that story. And why is it that you are deemed the right solution to those problems? But you also have to understand that the story you're going to tell to your investor is different than the story you're going to tell to your co-founder, is different than the story that you're going to tell when you're recruiting employees or when you're talking to a customer, because each of them has a different where they want to go. Each of them has a different successful destination in their mind that you need to align to. Your investor cares about rate of return. They want to make more money on this, company valuation. Your co-founder might be interested in solving that problem you want to solve together. Your customer has the problem and they are currently hitting walls because of it. And when you're recruiting employees, you might be talking to them about being part of the next big thing or a big technical challenge. Each individual has a different reason why they come on board. And so you're going to get great at storytelling, but you're also going to get great at adapting your story and being agile with what it is you present so that you show empathy for that person and that you show that your two visions are actually more aligned than previously thought.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Ready to dominate your market and skyrocket your revenue? Dive into Small Fish Big Pond, delivering a world class business that swims circles around competitors. This book is packed with powerful marketing and leadership insights guaranteed to transform your business and operate world class. Small Fish Big Pond delivers proven strategies to sharpen your marketing message, deliver unmatched value to your clients, and guide your prospects' buying journey to one inevitable conclusion: that your company is the only solution for them. Inside, you'll find step by step frameworks and time tested growth principles to attract your ideal clients, convert them, and then turn them into your passionate brand ambassadors. Grab your copy today in print, ebook, or audio at smallfishbigpond.com or on Amazon. Plus, remember, every book sale supports charity. All profits go there. Always have, always will. So dive in and make a difference. How do leaders rally their teams around strategy without micromanaging, without being the bottleneck, without pulling things back or pushing them too hard?
I think it comes from a collaborative mindset that you, as the CEO, you have your executive leader team, you have your ELT, the other C suite VPs, whatever their titles are. And together, you should be creating this long term vision. And then those individuals should take that model and work with their direct reports to create their satellite vision for what their team is going to do, piece of the pie to get it there, and downward and downward. So it's a matter of what we call strategy deployment, but really it's about having a shared vision and having an aligned team that's working together towards a common goal. And what that does is it allows for different teams, when they start arguing about resources, to have a conversation about what are we doing together that helps us get closer? How is
Yeah.
what you're doing more valuable than what I'm doing? Because we both have the same currency of value, getting closer to this end destination, which is better. And that's where it starts. And it's this collaborative experience of creating it and sharing it and allowing for each of the individual teams to have ownership of their slice of the pie. You as a leader need to ensure everything connects the dots. Your leaders need to make sure all the dots get connected. But the individual teams create the ideas of how they're going to move wherever their umbrella of influence is closer and closer. And collectively, we actually move towards the vision. And that's really what you want, that you're working together to get there.
Yeah. How do founders create that and really create a leadership culture instead of just hiring leaders? How do we develop that inside and cultivate that where we do have people who own those projects and become those leaders?
I think part of it is hiring, that you hire people who understand these concepts or understand enough of them that you can fill in the other ones. A lot of it is leading by example. Getting back to being a strong leader means showing off those lead characteristics and explaining it to your team. That's why you're doing certain things in a certain way. Because when you peel back the onion, when you show what's going on behind the curtain, that's where you're allowing those other people to really step up. And so part of it is hiring the right people, and then part of it is teaching them to be the kind of leader you want to be. And that comes from reiterating your vision, but also reiterating your values, correcting things when a course is not set correctly. Course correction is a big part of leadership,
Yep.
and not just letting it all go in the wrong direction, that you bring people back when there seems to be something wrong. And also trying your best to build a culture where mistakes are okay, where learning is the objective, where there's an understanding that we're all headed here, but sometimes we're going to make the wrong turn. And that's okay, because as long as we come back and we leverage what we learn to know how to get to our end destination faster. So much of what I try to explain to people is that this is at every level. When you master these skills, your life gets better because everything is about influence. Whether you're pitching where you want to go on vacation, or that Thanksgiving should be over at your house this year, or that you want a raise or a promotion, anything, anything is a pitch. Everything is a pitch. Life is a
Yeah.
pitch. And the second we start realizing that, and we start realizing that we have an opportunity to lead, we have an opportunity to bring other people along, then we can start figuring out how we might have that happen.
Yeah. What do you think makes a strong leader? You work with thousands of leaders, small companies, big companies, giant companies. What is it that separates the best from the rest?
I could go on about this forever, but my favorite thing to talk about is actually the balance of hubris and humility.
Hmm.
So, as a strong leader, you have to have the hubris to challenge the status quo, to say, whatever is the current state, it doesn't hold me back. I am not chained down by the way things work right now. I believe things can be different and better, and that we're going to do it together and make it there. So that's step
I
one, is
like
the
that.
hubris. And then it's like a false sense of confidence, right? It's not just confidence, it's an actual false sense of confidence because it's not proven, right?
Right.
If entrepreneurship was like, oh, I'm just going to repeat an idea that already worked, it wouldn't be risky. It wouldn't be
Right.
venture, right? So it has to be something that isn't sure, and you have to have a false sense of confidence that you've got this when no one else has. So that's step one. Step two is balancing that with a sense of humility, a sense that I might be wrong. I can't
Right.
do it alone. I need other people with a certain amount of hubris and humility to help me. They have the things that they're confident about. They have the things that they're humble about. But together we will build something great. And so much of this comes from the understanding that I have big ideas and I know exactly where I'm going and it's going to be awesome, but I need your help. I can't do it alone. I might be wrong. You have additional perspectives and expertise that I don't have. Will you help me make this thing real? Because I believe it's possible, but I also understand it's going to be a collective effort to get there. And so starting there, everything else flows from that. And probably an understanding of the golden rule that treat other people the way you want to be treated.
Yeah.
If I started
That's
there
a
with every leader, and I think we all know leaders that don't have both of like hubris and
right.
humility, don't understand the golden rule, that's where we don't really like those leaders.
Yeah.
So be the leader you want to be.
I think that's a little bit difficult too, especially as founders are going out to raise money. They have to project all of this confidence. And especially once they do raise, now they've got a board that they're responsible to. They don't want to show any weakness or they might get shot. It just,
Such a mistake.
it's a very difficult thing to actually have those conversations and convince everybody that, this is really going well. And even your own internal team, hey, we're doing great. But then there has to be that moment of reality of I can't do this by myself. There's a lot of times where I have no idea what the next step is. I need you to help me.
And I can tell you that every single board member will tell you that they want to be asked questions. If they're going to
Yes.
spend half a day, 2 days in a board meeting, they want their knowledge and their expertise leveraged. They do not sit on a board to sit there and rubber stamp things. So even if you are the CEO, figure out what it is that you want advice from them about. Figure out where you might have vulnerabilities, where you need to be a little bit more humble and get advice. And this is the same advice I give the most junior people when they're talking to their managers. When
Yeah.
you bring a problem to your manager, everyone says, bring a solution. I say, take it one step forward. Ask them for feedback based on their context about how you can do it better so that you will be more successful. That's why you're telling your manager. And when your
Right.
manager hears that you came up with you realized a problem, you came up with a solution, but you have the humility to recognize you can't see everything and you're coming to them for adjustments, not answers, that's fantastic because they now know they've shared with you their decision making framework and you will do better, not just this time, but every time afterwards. And your board is the same way. They have confidence in you, they
Yes.
invested for a reason.
Yes.
And they also are realistic that you are not infallible, you are not perfect, that there are going to be bumps in the road. But if you admit that there's a bump in the road and you talk about the way you're planning on solving it, and then you say, what do you know from the other boards you sit on, from your understanding of the market, from your understanding of certain customer profiles that will make us more successful as we try to do this? Huge.
Yeah. It is.
But
It
it's
is.
humble. You have
Yeah.
to have the humility to say, I don't know everything. And the board appreciates
And
it.
as founders, I think we expect ourselves to know everything or be able to figure it out because that's how it started. But we
That
can't
is how it
stay the
started.
same from the beginning.
But if you really think back, you probably talked it over with a friend over a beer.
Right.
And they
That's
helped
true.
you have some clarity. And you talked it over with your sibling and they said, what about this? And you said, oh,
Yeah.
there's this other thing. You never actually were in your own bubble, that you didn't talk to anyone else about it, and that your idea is 100% unique and never been thought of before. Your ability to execute on it, your ability to believe in it, your ability to bring other people along to solve this problem, that's you. But to think that you ever did anything alone, that's too much on the hubris side.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is a fun conversation.
Yeah, it is. It is. That's actually one of my favorite questions to ask is what am I not seeing? And really getting other people's perspective. I mean, here's the way I see it. Here's, what's going on and
Yeah.
what I think, but what am I not seeing? And really get their perspective because a lot of times there's a lot of value in seeing things from different angles or different experiences or different industries. Because the things that we struggle with in our own industry have probably been solved somewhere else. We're not the only person on earth, the only company in the world to ever have this problem.
No, you
And so
are.
when we open that up and start looking at other perspectives and start seeking that out, really cool things happen.
You hired smart people. You hired
Yes.
people who wanted to grow. You trained them on your business model. You trained them on your market. You trained them on your customers. Why wouldn't you want to listen to them?
Yeah.
You asked a very key question, which is tell me, what you said, tell me what I don't know, or tell me what I'm not thinking about. What was your question?
Yeah. Yeah. It's tell me what I'm not seeing.
Tell me what I'm not seeing.
Yeah.
That takes humility to say, I can't see everything. I can't see everything. And I've brought this team around me to help me see as much as possible. Together, we're not going to see everything either, but we're going to see more of it because we have more eyes on it.
Yes.
I recently gave a presentation, and I kid you not, leadership was misspelled. Someone in
It
the audience
happens.
came up to me afterwards and said, you seem like the kind of person who takes feedback. You should know on one of your slides, there was a typo. And I said, where? And he said, on slide number second to last, leadership. And I was like, that's not the word I want to miswrite. But I'm fallible. I'm human.
Sure.
To be human is to be imperfect. And so accepting that is a really big step for everyone.
Yeah.
And leading by example with that acceptance. When you say to your team members, what am I not seeing? How many of them internalize, wow, that was a really great question. I'm going to ask my team, what am I not seeing? And then it trickles down. You're creating a culture of collaboration, a culture of alignment, a culture of being able to say, I may not have all the answers, but together we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And that is strong leadership. Leadership is not having all the answers. Leadership is not making all the choices. It's enabling and empowering other people to work towards something together, something great together.
It's really good. How do you think leadership is evolving? Today's fast changing tech landscape, and we talked about AI. What do future leaders need to do differently than they are today?
I think they need to be listening more. I think that, as you said earlier, very often a member of your team knows a lot about something you don't. And the world is
Yes.
just changing so fast that it's impossible for us as leaders to know even a fraction of everything. And therefore, listen more. Make more time to listen to your team members. Make more time to listen to your customers. Make more time to listen to your board about what they're seeing and what they know. Because if you become a sponge for information, that can become your superpower because you will know more than others because you spent the time to listen to others.
At what age do you think it is time to really start talking about leadership skills, especially where we are today looking into the future?
I think you can start early. Recently, I even wrote a children's book called What Do Product Managers Do? A primer for aspiring PMs of all ages and parents who aren't sure it's a real job. And the book,
That's really cool.
thanks, it's totally unique and different. And
Yeah, it's not a crowded
it's
space,
not a
right?
crowded space. I don't think we're going to have much competition for Amazon bestseller in this particular genre. Business books for kids.
Yeah. Tell me about the book. What was the idea behind it? What does
I
it
had a kid and I
teach?
wanted to explain to her what it is that I do. And I wanted it to rhyme. And then I had lots of feedback because I believe in feedback. I'm humble and I'm not always right. And people started telling me that it needed to be more of a story. It needed to be more of what does the product manager protagonist in the story build and who is she building it with? And so the story, the imagery is fantastic to just like everyone loves the imagery, but the story goes through how Sue, our product manager, explains the basics of product, but then she collaborates with an engineer. And we talk about what sales and marketing does. And we talk about what designers do. And we talk about the process that is involved in building something where QA gets involved. And we push to production and all of these details that the people in the real world know about, but kids never would. But when you talk to them at a level that is slightly above what you would expect a child to understand, what they do understand is amazing. And what people understand from this book when they are 9 years old or younger is not only what does a product manager do, but the essence of collaboration to build something amazing. And that is what the book's really about. And so, what
That
do
is really
product
cool.
managers do will be on bookshelves sometime in May, but you probably can pre-sales link by the time this comes out. And yeah, by all
We'll
means,
definitely put that
look
in the show
it up.
notes. Yes, that sounds great.
Information will for sure be available on
Yeah.
myleaderwithin.com for sure.
A founder wants to become a better leader starting today. They want to
Mhm.
become a better listener, a better leader. What's the first small step they can take right now?
First small step for a founder to become a better leader, ask their immediate reports what they can be doing better to support them.
Mm,
If they had an extra hour of the founder, the CEO, giving them support, what would it be used for? It's an incredibly telling question because you'll learn both what they see the value in you as well as where they feel like they're faltering, where they need this support. And it may not be you who gives them the support, but at least you've surfaced a problem that's
right.
only going to get bigger, chances are, and you're part of the solution. And what that means is you've opened lines of communication where I don't only want updates about the progress of things, I also want to know where things are going wrong so that we can fix it together. And when you start with that, this is just the day that's going to suck.
That's
When you start with that, you're headed in the right direction.
that's really good.
Your
Well,
end
where
is
can
going to
people?
have so much fun.
Oh, they're fantastic. Well, where can people learn more about you online?
So my website, myleaderwithin.com, has a wealth of information about my speaking, my consulting, my coaching, training. It also has a lot of fun links like the GPT that'll allow you to see what Tami would advise about anything, and my blog, where I tend to provide information by the basic rule of if I've given the advice 3 times to a coaching client, I'm going to write it down and democratize it. I understand not everyone has access to the capital to get an executive coach like me. I understand not every company is ready to invest in bringing someone like me in to train the leaders of their team. That doesn't mean you can't be making strides and steps in that direction. And that is why I provide so many free tools out there because I want people to thrive. I want people to be successful. I want people to reach that destination, that where to that they so much so desire. And if I can be part of more people's success, that would be the most wonderful feeling for me.
That's awesome. Make sure and link that in the show notes. And Tammy, it's been such a great conversation. I've really enjoyed it. Thanks for being on SaaS Fuel.
Thank you so much for bringing me on. Thank you so much, listeners, for listening all the way to this point. I hope you got some good tidbits and that if something doesn't apply to you, chances are it applies to someone who reports to you. So you share it with them.
Love it. Thanks again, Tammy, for coming on the show and sharing your insights and resources. It's always a great conversation with Tammy. Love having her on, love having conversations with her, and one of my favorite leadership experts in recent memory. You can learn more about Tammy and consume lots of cool resources at her website, and that is myleaderwithin.com. As always, all links, highlights, resources, and full show notes are available at saasfuel.com. And be sure to check out our YouTube channel as well. Full video episodes, shorts, outtakes, trainings, more lots of things over there for you. That's at Champion Leadership on YouTube, or just search SaaS Fuel. You can find it that way too. Thought leaders, share this episode with someone who brings energy, ambition, and drive to everything they do. It's probably somebody very much like you. So share this episode with them and then see what kind of ambition you can come up with together. Everyone who shares this week gets a magic refrigerator that restocks your favorite snack whenever you say its name 3 times. Yeah, that would actually be a great thing. Join us next Tuesday as I sit down with Lance Thrailkill, CEO of All Metals Fabricating and founder of Printed Technologies. We'll explore how they are embracing next generation technology and automation and then using that technology to help solve the affordable housing crisis. These guys are literally 3D printing houses, and the tech behind it is absolutely fascinating to me. And the thought process, who thinks this stuff? We can 3D print a house. It's amazing. And they're building the equipment too. Lance is redefining what is possible in manufacturing and leadership, and he is a big thinker, which I absolutely love. Then next Thursday, 1 week from today, we sit down with Joshua Mong to explore how fractional COOs are helping growth stage businesses scale smarter. With a background in economic development and a knack for operational transformation, Joshua brings clarity to chaos and helps CEOs get their time and sanity back. I will talk to you next time, and as always, enjoy the journey.
Thanks for listening to SaaS Fuel. Full show notes for each episode, which includes a summary, key takeaways, quotes, and any resources mentioned, are available at saasfuel.com. Be sure to follow and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're enjoying the content and getting value from these episodes, please leave us a rating and review at ratethispodcast.com/saasfuel. We'll be sure to read these out on future episodes.